What are the grafts? So basically, we know that the grafts are usually the thing which we share, um, as either it is implant or a explant or like that. So grafts are like whenever you are replacing something, something is missing and you are going to replace it. It is called as graft. So whenever we when whether you do the transplant or implant or explant, anything which is being replaced by something is called as grafting and implantation. So graft is like nowadays very much popular just because of the popularity of implantology, but most of the people are right now using the basal implants just in the for the sake of the whether it is like from the patient perspective to just have a graphless situation for the shorter period of time of treatment planning and all things. So basically what I suggest is whenever you have a good patient and whenever you have a time to heal the patient and when you have a good amount of accessibility to give the best of you, then you must go for the grafting and then you can plan for the implantology. It will give you the bestest result as I have seen till nowadays. So what is graft? I've said we will be covering about the basic introduction, classification, graft materials, bone substitutes, where to use it, basically practical purpose. In first half we will be seeing the more theoretical thing and in second half we will be seeing the practical perspective. So I've told you what is missing being replaced is called as grafting. And bone grafts are the material for the augmentation of the bone or the replacement. So whether you are using the graft as a filler material or for the regeneration of the bone. So whenever you are planning the case, you have to know about it, whether you are going to make it as a filler particle just for the sake of the filling the thing, like missing thing is being filled, or you are going to regenerate the bone from it. So most of the cases regeneration is more recommended in cases where you just need like the percussion involvement or grade 1 grade 2, then it is okay to being filled only, but most of the cases we need the regeneration of the bone from the defect side. So rationale, it is like to enhance the regenerative capacity of the bone and new attachment apparatus being restored. So whenever we see the grafting, usually people think oh मैंने graft कर दिया है तो ये bone बन जाना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं होता है. It is like whenever you are using the bone graft, it will have a 4 generations, like 4 different method the bone will be generated, like osteoinduction, either conduction or genesis or stimulation. So what is induction? Induction is like the process in which the material itself will stimulate the progenitor cell which are present in the bones. बोन के जो सेल्स है प्रोजेनेटर सेल्स उसको कन्वर्ट करेंगे ऑस्टियोब्लास्टिक एक्टिविटी और ऑस्टियोक्लास्टिक एक्टिविटी. तो वेन एवर द रीजनरेशन इज बीइंग प्रोसेस्ड, इट इज नॉट लाइक के आपका बोन ऑस्टियोब्लास्टिक एक्टिविटी होगी. इट विल बी इट इज अ सेल सिग्नलिंग प्रोसेस इन विच द सेल इज बीइंग स्टिमुलेटेड. सेल सिग्नलिंग हुआ, जहां पे ऑस्टियोक्लास्टिक एक्टिविटी की जरूरत है वहां पे ऑस्टियोक्लास्टिक एक्टिविटी होगी, और जनरेशन की जरूरत है तो वो क्लास्टिक एंड ब्लास्टिक एक्टिविटी को stimulate करेगा. This called as induction. What is osteoconduction? In which the uh, that material itself will give the place to regenerate. तो वो सिर्फ कंडक्ट करेगा सेल्स को कि यहाँ पे आना है. ठीक है. इट विल नॉट स्टिमुलेट द सेल कि आप ऑस्टियोप्लास्टिक एंड क्लास्टिक एक्टिविटी को प्रमोट करो. तो इट इज कॉल्ड एज ऑस्टियोकंडक्शन. लाइक इंडक्शन इज लाइक कि वो खेत में अगर आपको जमीन की जरूरत है तो ऑस्टियोकंडक्शन इज विल गिव द मटेरियल फॉर इट, लाइक सॉरी जमीन देगा उसको. और इंडक्शन इज लाइक कि वो उसका मेन इंग्रेडिएंट है कुछ उगाने के लिए. Osteogenesis is like कि promoting the osteoblast cell to give something osteoblastic cell को promote करना like bone morphogenic proteins है तो वो क्या करेंगे इट इज कॉल्ड एज कि वो टिश्यू ग्रोथ फैक्टर्स ये सारे जो लाइक प्लेटलेट ड्राइव ग्रोथ फैक्टर्स ये सारे जो है वो ऑस्टियोजेनेसिस में हेल्प करते हैं कि वो बोन को बनाने में उसका कैंसलस पार्ट है कॉर्टिकल पार्ट है तो उसको बनाने में जो मदद करता है उसको ऑस्टियोजेनेसिस कहते हैं स्टिमुलेटेड सिमुलेशन इज लाइक दैट सो लाइक दैट कि आपने अगर फिलर टाइप ऑफ मटेरियल ले लिया आप सुनते होंगे रोज कि बीटा ट्राइकैल्शियम फॉस्फेट है या अल्फा ट्राइकैल्शियम फॉस्फेट है तो ये सारे जो मटेरियल्स है वो ऑस्टियो स्टिमुलेशन का काम करते हैं व्हाट दे प्रोवाइड वो कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट है ये सारी चीजों को प्रोवाइड करते हैं विच आर वेरी एसेंशियल फॉर द सेल सिग्नलिंग और सेल को स्टिमुलेट करने में और सेल को जो कैल्शियम चाहिए कार्बोनेट चाहिए वो उनको प्रोवाइड करते हैं तो विच इज कॉल्ड एज ऑस्टियोसिमुलेशन सो देर आर द फोर डिफरेंट मेथड जो हमने समझ ली इंडक्शन क्या है कि इंडक्शन इज लाइक कि समथिंग खात है जो आपको बोन रीजनरेट करने में मदद करेगा कंडक्शन इज लाइक कि वो सरफेस प्रोवाइड करेगा जिनेसिस इज द जनरेशन के लिए सेल्स जो है ऑस्टियोप्लास्टिक सेल को स्टिमुलेट करेगा कि ज्यादा बोन बनाइए और स्टिमुलेट ऑस्टियो स्टिमुलेशन है वो है लाइक कि उसको मिनरल्स की जो जरूरत है वो प्रोवाइड करना सो वेन एवर यू आर रिप्लेसिंग द बोन लाइक आपने कोई डिफेक्ट को देखा तो आपको सोचना है कि वेदर यू वांट टू फिल इट और यू वांट टू रीजनरेट इट सो वेन एवर यू वांट टू रीजनरेट तो ऑस्टियो इंडक्शन जो भी मटेरियल करेगा उसका जरूरत होगा और फॉर द लॉन्गर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम कि वो प्रोसेस तब तक चले तो उसके लिए आपको फिलर मटेरियल भी चाहिएगा क्योंकि जब भी आप कोई भी ग्राफ्टिंग करते हो तो इंडक्शन कब तक चलेगा कंडक्शन कब तक रहेगा और फिलर मटेरियल कब तक रहेगा उसका सबका एक सेल्फ लाइफ रहता है तो ग्राफ्टिंग इज नॉट लाइक कि मैंने हाइड्रोक्सी एपेटाइट डाल दिया या मैंने एलोग्राफ डाल दिया जीनोग्राफ डाल दिया ऑटोग्राफ डाल दिया ऐसा नहीं होता है इट इज लाइक द सेल सिग्नलिंग प्रोसेस उसको सेल्फ लाइफ रहता है ग्राफ का उसको ध्यान में रख के उसका यूज करना होता है नाउ कम वी आर कमिंग टू द क्लासिफिकेशन थियोरिटिकल पर्पस तो उसमें अगर सेम इंडिविजुअल से रहेगा तो इट इज कॉल्ड एज ऑटोग्राफ जेनेटिकली आइडेंटिकल रहेगा तो इट इज कॉल्ड एज आइसोग्राफ सेम स्पीसीज से रहेगा लाइकवाइज की टिबिया फिबुला ऑफ कैडेवर से आप ले रहे हो तो इट्स कॉल्ड एज एलोग्राफ्स सिंथेटिक मटेरियल एलोप्लास्टिक मटेरियल लाइक हाइड्रोक्सी एपेटाइट है कैल्शियम फॉस्फेट सीमेंट्स है विच आर बीइंग which are alloplastic material. It is being extracted from either from the cadaver or from the xenograph like bovine or porcine or coralline calcium और उससे और डिफरेंट स्पीसीज रहेगा तो इट इज कॉल्ड एज सीनोग्राफ लाइकवाइज बोविन पोर्सिन एंड coralline calcium or ceramics and biotic bioactive molecules these are the ceramics are like के कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट और ये सारे कुछ हो गए तो जो कॉम्पोजिट ग्राफ्स है विच आर बीइंग यूज्ड फॉर द ऑस्टियोसिमुलेशन so right now in the market, beta tricalcium phosphate is very much popular. Some companies like Ostim is also giving the implant with dipped into the beta tricalcium phosphate for the more bone implant surface integration and everything but studies are still going on and some people are also using the PRF and everything PRP for the sake of the more regeneration. So based on the type of graph being used, either particulate or block or a putty. As we all know, particulate are the allographic material, autograph material, or the alloplastic material. sorry, green xenograftic material, and block is also from the allograftic material, or it is from the bovine derived xenograftic material. Putty is like the composites and something like alloplastic material. And when we say about the bone graft substitute, then allograft based material, factor based, ceramic based, cell based, and polymer based. This is the any this is only the conceptual based and for the theoretical purpose. So what we, as we have seen that based on the sources, autograft, alloplast, allograft, or xenograft, and allograftic material are from the same species like the human cadaver, mostly the mesenchymal cells, or FDBA and DFDBA are called as allograftic material. They are yes, they are very superior to any other alloplastic material, because they have a osteoconductive and inductive property also, and they have mesenchymal cells because they are being extracted from the tibia and fibula inner marrow part, then it will be more effective than the other part. Polymer base, it is biodegradable materials. Polymethamethyacrylate like polyglycolic acid. These are the materials PLA, PMMA. They are the material being used for the um, polymer base material, and they are osteoconductive only, bioresorbable, and degradable material. These are the material most commonly being used for the GTR membrane, like guided tissue regeneration. Right now, we are talking about the guided bone regeneration. Also, we will be coming to the guided tissue regeneration. So, these are the material used for the tissue regeneration, polymer base, basically. Based on the factors, some people, like I've already said, that natural and recombinant growth factors are being used. So many of the students don't know that the platelets, whenever they uh, get broken, or whenever there is a cell signaling process or anything like bleeding is there, platelet will be generating the platelet derived growth factors. So when the degradation of the platelet occurs, this factors being stimulated and factors being flown into the blood circulation, this vascular endothelial growth factor or transforming growth factors, platelet derived growth factor, RhBMP, most of the people have heard, I guess. So RH, PDGF, all are these factors are the proteins, which are proteins, and they are very much important for the cell signaling. What they do, these proteins get activated and they stimulate the DNA and the RNA, recombinant DNA and RNA inside the cell for the regeneration purpose, and they just stimulate the cell to form more amount of the bone. So this factor base is like whenever you are using the graft material, you can, yeah, basically you can do is whenever you are using xenograft or the autograft, just mix it with your patient's own blood or with the PRP or PRF. So it will be beneficial because the patient's already ready to give an platelet derived growth factor will be there in the blood also, even in the plasma. So these factors, what will they do? They will stimulate the protein which is present inside the socket, and cells inside it. So the more regeneration will be occurring within the implantation of the graft. Some cell based like mesenchymal stem cells, osteogenic property, which is mostly the where in past also, and in the oral surgery they use the fibula or tibia or fibula for the regeneration of the very big amount of the defects. So why they are using it? Because they contains the osteoconductive property and osteogenic property and osteoinductive property, because they contains the cancellous bone and cortical bone. Cortical bone is like it will be given the bulk to the defect, and the cancellous bone which will be giving the mesenchymal stem cell, and the blood vessels are also there, so they will be giving more amount of the adhesiveness to the defect site. So indication of bone graft, as we all know, it is very theoretical, like aesthetic function or percussion defects like grade 2, grade 3, grade 1, ridge augmentation procedures, sinus lift and regeneration around the implant. So, what is the requisite of the bone? So, whenever you are grafting the material, you just don't need it, like you need that material to stay and stuck for the longer, very longer period of time. If you have a defect and it may last for at least 4 to 6 months for the regeneration of the bone, because laminar bone, all the bone type, like whether the lamellar bone or a woven bone, this bone formation takes very much time. Like woven bone will take 25 to 40 micro millimeter per day will be generated, and the lamellar bone like 60 micromillimeter per day. So according to that, that defect will take time, less minimum 4 to 6 months. So for that you will need that bone graft to be adhered over there, not dissolved in a very short period of time. Toxicity, not, it should be non-toxic, it should be inert material, or it should be in resistant to any infection, non-resorptive. It should not also promote any ankylosis. It should have a biocompatibility, predictability, and strong and resilient form, and rapid vascularization. As I said, that all the materials will have a different type of the particle size. So this particle size is very much important for the vascularization. When you are using the filler material, it will have a very small amount of particle size. So what is the difference between the particle size? Whenever I say that, suppose these are the bone grafts particles. So this microporosity, when you are using any xenographic material or the allographic material or autograft material, it will have cancellous bone and cortical bone. So when you are using this particulate bone, then it will have a microporosity. In case of autograft, it will have a macroporosity, and in case of filler particles, it will have a microporosity. So, what are this porosity and what is the particular size? So, ideally, 25 200 sorry 250 micron to 100, sorry, 1000 micron is very much needed for a particular size, is ideal for the grafting. But when these grafts have very small amount of microporosity, then particle size is very small, then the gap between the particle will be very less. So what happens when the gap is very much more and macroporosity is there, that vessels will be able to grow inside the particles, and in case of very micro porous gaps, the vessel will have very much less amount of the penetration inside the um, particles. So what happens whenever you are grafting the material, you have to use the autograft plus allograft or filler material also. Why? Because autograft will give the osteoinduction and conduction property. If you are using we will be seeing that what is the role of cortical bone and cancellous bone, and filler material will give the bulk to the defect site. So whenever you are using any kind of the graft, any kind of cases where you have to use the graft, you have to see that whether you are using a filler material or autograph material or xenographic material. If you have option that you can use your allographic material, sorry, autographic material, then it will be best to do it. But with must recommend that you also have to use the filler particle, because allographic, sorry, autographic material is very less in amount. Just because of that, we are using the allographic material, xenograft, or a filler material. So don't, just please don't go for filler particle. Use autograft and allograft or xenograft plus the filler material. Okay. So in case of the autograft, you have to see that from where you are taking the autograft. We will be discussing it later. Objective of crafting: probing depth reduction at clinical attachment gain, and the bone and cementum and periodontal regeneration. So, what is the advantage? We all know that reversing the disease, increasing the tooth support, and improving the functionality of the teeth and the implant, and aesthetic and structural integrity. These all are point theoretically very important. If someone is going to give the exam, you can write it down. Disadvantage is very, yes, it will take the longer period of time. Post operative care is very much important. Patients should be very patient with their uh, treatment protocol and treatment planning. Availability is very much questionable. Some other, in case of the very major problems, defect, people are using the tibia and fibula and iliac crest are being used, so it will have second stage surgeries and very much longer period of time, and patient will be suffering. The availability of bone is very much less, but nowadays bone graft and xenograft is very much popular from the Indian origin and also from the Switzerland company or other companies. So it is not a problem right now. But when you are coming to the autograft, it will require two sides and it will have a very much amount of very much less availability of the bone grafting material. And predictability, also predictability is very much important. It differs from company to company for the xenograft and alloplastic material. Selection of the graft material: you need something for the very rapid vascularization, osteoinductive property, predictability, accessibility, availability, and safety. All are being considered. As I said, that particle size is also important. Porosity, whether it is microporous or macroporous. Obviously, the particle size is more, then the macros porosity will be there and more vascularization will be there. When the particle size is very small, then microporosity will be there and less amount of the vascularity will be there. But when you use both of them, it will be beneficial. Uh, these are the examples of the autographs. Cortical bone chips. Cortical bone chips are like you are removing the bone from the tori or from the exostosis, bone exostosis and heavier marginal ridge. Then you are using crushing it down in the mortar and pestle, and you are mixing it with the um, your patient's own blood or plasma or saline. You can use extraction site also. The extraction site, from there you can make the, you know, crepitus like bone defect, and then cancellous bone and the cortical bone both are being used, and then crushing it down and putting it on the defect site. In previous years, they were also using the bone swedging. In this, limitation is like you are using the bone swagger with with the help of it, you will be transferring the bone from one side to the another side. It has a limitation that this is very technique sensitive, and result is not like predictable. Either we can use the intraoral cancellous bone or extraoral cancellous bone. Intraoral cancellous bone is very much being used from the symphysis manti or from the tuberosity or from the tori or something which is present in the patient. It will have all cancellous bone and cortical bone. Cortical bone is much denser and cancellous bone is porous. So cancellous bone will have a mineralized structure, and it will have some mesenchymal cells and everything over there. So it will be helpful for the osteogenesis, for the osteoinduction also. But when we talk about osteoconduction, providing the surface, the cortical bone will have the thick, dense amount of the stability kind of thing, and conductive property, and the bulk. In previous times, external cancellous bone and more bone marrow was also being used. Allograftic, when we talk about allograftic materials, bone grafts are harvested from the one person to the and transplanted into the another person. It is more widely being used right nowadays. FDBA and DFDBA, and why these are which bone to why these are being used more frequently, because it will have a more amount of the more morphogenic proteins and the mesenchymal cells, and those of the things which are present in the same species. But one thing is that whenever you are using the freeze dried bone allograft or the demineralized freeze dried bone graft allograft, it is being recommended that it should be gone through the very much big amount of the sterilization protocol and everything, like it should be have less amount of antigenicity, and it should have some amount of the stability, and it should be like easily manipulative, and uh, it should have wettability for the longer period of time. Most importantly, antigenicity is very much important. When the from the cadaver, the any kind of freeze dried or demineralized freeze dried bone graft is being extracted, we have to see that whether that cadaver or the species doesn't have any kind of the genetic disease or kind of the disease present inside that cadaver, because if whether that patient had any kind of HIV or any other diseases, systemic diseases present, then the bone quality will be compromised. Again, the allographic materials are not so much available in compared to xenographic material, because of the problem associated with the antigenicity and more process time, and it will need so much amount of the permission issues and everything with it, and very small amount of the bone will be generated from the site. So these are the FDBA, and we all know that FDBA is much popular in the periodontal therapy since 1976. It has a very much osteoconductive property. As I said, it will have the cortical bone and cancellous bone. It is not demineralized, it is mineralized. So what is the difference between demineralized and mineralized? This freeze dried bone allograft will have mineralization, mineral particles inside it. And in case of demineralized DFDBA, it is called as demineralized freeze dried bone allograft, will have a mineral particles inside it. So this FDBA will have proteins, polypeptides inside it and sequestrated by the calcium. So there are many cases being done by Milong and Bowers and co-workers, and they have seen that FDBA, when it is being used, FDBA plus autogenous have a very much good result, 95 to 78%. And whether it is demineralized DFDBA or FDBA, alone or with autogenous graft, will have a good amount of result rather than other graftic materials. Freeze dried bone graft, you FDBA, whether you can dip it with the tetracycline. Obviously, tetracycline has a very good amount of the antibacterial thing, but plus it will also enhance the fibroblast chemotaxis. So, tetracycline is like the drug which is not only for the antibacterial or anti bactericidal activity, it is also for the fibroblastic chemotaxis, which is being scientifically proven in the later stage after the tetracycline being widely used. So, in most of the perio cases, after the treatment, we use it for the fibroblastic chemotaxis. Why? Because this fibroblast will enhance the clinical attachment gains. So whenever you are using the FTBA or any other graft material, please you can use the liquid tetracycline or tetracycline by 4 gem 1 volume, and it will give the excellent result in cases of juvenile periodontitis or any cases where you have seen that so much of the periodontal destruction is there. Obviously, any graft material with the autogenous graft will have a very good amount of the result. Whenever you are filling the material, just use autograft first. Where suppose this is the defect side, and this percussion is involved till this area. Grade 2 percussion is there, or grade 3 percussion is there. The one wall is intact on the lingual side or a buccal side. What to do? At just proximal to the defect side, you have to fill it with the autogenous graft. After that, one layer of the autogenous graft, you can put allograftic material or xenograftic material. After that, you have to cover this graft with the barrier membrane. So, what is the role of barrier membrane? This barrier membrane will not come inside the healing process and the osteogenetic process. It will hinder the cell occlusiveness from the periodontal ligament and from the surrounding tissue. These are the advantages of the mineralized freeze dried bone graft. It is allogenic and autolyzed and antigen extracted bone. And Hurst and co-workers have done many studies since 1960 to 2000, and they've seen that in cases of bone in cases of any periodontal defects or in cases of implantology, they have given the best result. And also this material so will have the more amount of the bone morphogenic proteins. This bone morphogenic proteins are very much important for the bone regeneration. We will be seeing the bone morphogenic protein in later slide. So whenever you are doing the grafting, all the cases are different. Like when one case, in one case, you can host response is also important. The patient is suffering from any systemic disease or gender bias also. I have seen most of the cases in case of female patients. Like female patient will have a more amount of the bone loss in compared to the male patient of that same age. Why? Because of the hormonal changes and the systemic changes, and systemic diseases are also being more prominently found in the female patient just because of hormonal changes after the menopause. And I've also seen that the patient coming to me, if mostly female patient after the 40 years, I've seen that the D3 and D4 bone very much being seen, and very porous and very fragile bone is being seen. And after 50, the horizontal and vertical bone loss is more prominent in the female patient as compared to male patient. Hygiene is also important. Again, some patient will have a very less hygiene, but still will have a good amount of the bone, D1, D2 bone in them. And some patient with the very good hygiene, but they have a systemic disease, or genetically they are made of it, and they will have a calcium deficiency, or D3 or D4 bone is D2, D3, D4 bone is more prominent in that. So small mistake, or it is not like one case you are using the autogenous graft and filler material will have a good response, but it depends on patient to patient. So whenever you are taking the history of the patient, a patient comes to you, you have to take the thorough history, gender, from seeing the more cases, most diseases in the gender biased way, to the hygiene and the genetic history, and previous histories of medication, all are being very much important for the final treatment planning. So these are the studies associated with the DFDBA plus against the autogenous material, and these are the cases in the in vitro studies. And this DFDBA is very much important. As I said, it contains at least 9 BMPs. What are the BMPs? Bone morphogenic proteins. These bone morphogenic proteins are actually the amino acids. These amino acids are being secreted from the our body, or either it is being taken from the proteins from the outsourcing or food. This amino acid will make the bone morphogenic proteins. This bone morphogenic protein itself says that in their name, this bone morphogens will promote the cell signaling inside the cell, and it will result in the more simulation of the mRNA for the stimulation of the bone regeneration. So osteoblastic and clastic activity will be more signaled when the BMPs are there. So why this DFDBA has a most bone inductive property? Just because it is mineralized contain, sorry, demineralized contain, so it will be exposing these proteins in compared to FDBA, and it will have a good amount of inductivity property. Xenographic materials, as we all know, they are bovine derived or porcine derived, and these are the material being widely being used. As we all know that Bios company, Bios graft, they are using it like bone substitutes. These are the leading regenerative property. These graphic materials have a leading the regenerative property, and most being trusted. So many companies like Fixos is also Indian company, which is also bovine derived xenographic material. These are the graph material which is very much popular in market right now. So bovine derived material, when we talk about bovine derived material, it will have a organic component, osteoconductive property. It is deep. It is like very much bio inert, and it is being proved that it is very biocompatible, and it will also have some amount of the proteins in that. So bone grafting material is now are being most popular just because of its property of mineralization, protein content, and the organic component of it. And also, it will have a large amount of osteoconductive property, which is important for the providing the surface for the bone regeneration. Most of these cases of any allographic material or in case of xenographic materials, uh, antigenicity and disease transfer is most important because I have seen that prions, I guess we all know that prions have a that which comes from the bovine, and it is like the prion stays even after the radiation, gamma radiation or sterilization inside the material. So whenever you are using the bovine derived material or porcine derived material, it should be coming from the very good company or a very good, no, you should be knowing how these companies are doing sterilization of it, because the whenever any kind of the disease which is being transferred from one species to another species, it will have a very drastic change. It will not give you any kind of result, but it will also give you some amount of the immunological reactions. So it is very much important from where you are taking the graft, from which company. And yes, it is also most important whenever you are buying the graft material. You just don't go for the cost effectiveness. You have to see that whether this graft is being sterilized completely, in a which way they have sterilized, how much mineralization is there, which amount of the graph particle size is there, which amount of the mineralization is there, or how it is being processed, all the things, like which thermal property at which level, how, at whether it is at cold temperature or high temperature being used, all are very much important for the grafting. Coralline calcium, at coral calcium is right now being most being used. Coral is found from the sea, and this coral calcium will have calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is very much important for the osteoclastic activity. So in case of when that bone is being exposed to the surface area, or in the environment, like in the blood, what happens, the osteoclast will just have occlusiveness on the marrow surface, and with the retapex, we all know retapex, and this through this retapex will they will be having the calcium carbonate and hydrogen ion channel, and through this they will be just doing the exchange of the materials, minerals, and this will secrete calcium and phosphorus channel, and it will have cell signaling process, in which after the clastic activity, blastic activity will be signaled. So this biocoral material will have calcium chloride, which is most of important for the osteoclastic activity, and it will have a yes. When we were talking about the ideal particle size, so this calcium carbonate will have 100 to 200 micro m, which is similar to very sponges bone, D4 bone. And when we are talking about the ideal particle size, it should be like 250 to 1000 micro millimeters. It is needed. So whenever you are using coralline calcium carbonate, then you have to see that these materials this material is only for the conductive property. It is not for the regeneration. So when we were talking about coralline calcium, hydroxyapatite is also being used. So hydroxyapatite also it is a main component for bone or enamel or cement or dentine. But the thing is, the whenever you are using the porous hydroxyapatite, you just can't use hydroxyapatite as a graft material. You have to use hydroxyapatite plus any filler material for the regeneration of the bone. Why? Hydroxyapatite will give the structural integrity to the graftic material, but when you are using it with the beta tricalcium phosphate or any CaCO3 calcium carbonate, it will give the conversion of the cells. It will give the osteoconduction and also induction. Hydroxyapatite for the structural integrity, and this calcium carbonate will give the osteoconduction and induction for the conduction and osteostimulation. So whenever you are using graph, just don't go for hydroxyapatite only. Use it, mix it with the uh, calcium carbonate or beta tricalcium phosphate plus the plasma, patient own plasma, for the betterment of the graph results. So coming to the point of filling any material, so graphs self life is very much important. Graph self life is very much important because graph itself should be stuck over there for a very longer period of time. So when you are using the autogenous graft, it will have a very less amount of life 6 till 3 months till it will be there. So what to do when in cases of large defect, like when it defect is very small, like 2 mm or 3 mm, then only using the autogenous graft will be beneficial. But when you are using it for the regeneration of the longer defects, like more than 4 mm, then you will be needing the more amount of the bulk, and you will be needing the osteogenesis, and you will be needing the all the induction, conduction, and stimulation. So what to do with those kind of cases? So for that you will be needing the autograft plus allograft or filler material, because autograft will have 3 to 4 months of shelf life, and this allographic material also goes for 4 to 6 months, and filler material will last for the longer period of time, like 6 to 10 months. So again, the porosity and the particle size is also important, because particle size in initial stage of the time when you have just grafted, you have to graft the autogenous graft just proximal to the defect. So in early stage of life, that patient will have a exposed to the mesenchymal cells and progenitor cells to their own graft, autogenous graft, and it will provide the maximum porosity to it, maximum vascularization to it, and these filler particles degrade very in a later phase of life. So the osteogenesis, which is very slow, like the 25 microns per day, then this filler particle will give the conduction to the new generation of the bone. I guess I'm uh, narrating it in a very good way, I guess, because I guess most of the people understood it, why to use
Mm.
filler and why to use autograph. So for the longer period of shelf life, you have to you should have graft material. It should be lasting for like 10 months, 6 to 10 months. So for that you have to use the composite grafts like filler material and autogenous or allographic material or xenographic materials. Should I go directly to the cases?
Yes, I think if anyone has anything to ask, they can just drop in their questions in the chat box where Dr. Nirali can answer them if there's anything that anyone wants to ask until now. Or you can just unmute and ask her also. She'll be able to answer.
The theoretical part is almost like I've concluded it.
Hmm.
Any cases somebody wants to ask, then can ask right now. So I can move to the cases and case-based questions.
Right. I think they can drop it in the chat box if there's anything they want to ask. Meanwhile, you can show us the cases.
Okay. So uh, whenever you are planning the cases, you have to see the patient characteristic. You have to see the local and systemic and gender and everything, behavior or personal habits, like the patient is smoking very heavily, like chain smoker, more than 10 or 20 cigarettes per day, then it is not recommended to do the grafting and all. Also not only the hygiene maintenance is there needed, whether any cases of implant also, you just can't go for the implant, because I have seen many other cases, because of smoking the vascularization is very deprived, and it will result a failure of the implant and the grafting. So you have to straightly say to the patient that they have to decrease the smoking habit. Then after 3 to 6 months of the quitting the habit or reducing the smoking habit, then after you can go for the vascular this kind of grafting or implant. Why? Because the smoking deprived the bones, deprived the blood circulation, and when there is a less amount of the circulation, then it will have a chances of some amount of compromise immunogenic activity, and even vascularization is less, then nutritional support will be very less. So whenever patient comes to you and patient is smoking less than 10 cigarettes per day or 3 to 4 cigarettes per day, then you have to say to the patient state that they have to just stop this smoking for the 3 to 4 days, just before the treatment, and 7 days after the, then and then only this treatment will be considerable. When the compliance is controlled by all these things, like in residual infection is very less, plaque control is there, hygiene maintenance is there, systemic diseases are not there and being controlled, or diabetes or hypertension, antiplatelet, everything is in control, then you can plan for the grafting. It is controllable, then yeah, yes, then go for the guided tissue regeneration and bone regeneration. Whether no, then reduce the prognosis, and it is not recommended. Only the plaque accumulation and hygiene maintenance is recommended. So around the when we think about the patient, like around the teeth, so what should be considerable? So when the defect is apical to the percussion or coronal to the percussion. It is apical to the percussion, then grafting will help the teeth to survive more. And when it is coronal to the percussion, it will have a less amount of prognosis. With short or long teeth root, then longer root will have a very short root trunk. When it is being exposed, then the percussion involvement will be very earlier, and this percussion involvement through and through or grade 2 and grade 3 is very curable, but when we say about the grade 4, great for percussion are not being very much superior. If the tooth roots are being involved, like one root is involved and one is not involved, then which one is totally lost, then you have to go for hemisection or root resection. And in cases of short root tongue, then result will be more favorable because the percussion defect is not being compromised, not being involved. And in cases of short root trunk, long root trunk, it will have a very good amount of the guided tissue regeneration. When we talk about the wall defects, as we all know, three wall defects is what three walls are intact, one wall is missing. So it is very much predictable that three wall defect will have 95% of chances of getting uh, repaired and regenerated. Two wall defect will have 82%, and one wall defect is not so recommended for the guided bone regeneration or guided tissue regeneration. When we talk about the percussion have a grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. This classification is from the 2020 2020 classification, in which it is not about grade 1, 2, 3, 4. It is A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, and C1, C2, C3, according to the horizontal and vertical bone loss, in which horizontal bone loss, A1 is like horizontal bone loss less than 3 mm, and attachment loss is coronal to the uh, two-third of the root. A2 is like more than 3 mm horizontal bone loss and not through and through defect, and it will have a vertical bone extending to the coronal two-third of the root. And in A3, it will have a through and through defect, vertical and a horizontal bone loss. Same goes for the B and C. So in case of grade B1, it will have the less than 3 mm of the vertical bone loss and extending to the middle third of the root. Second B2 will have a more than 3 mm, more than or equal to 3 mm horizontal bone loss and not through and through, and will have the bone loss extending till the middle third of the root. And in case of B3, it will have a through and through defect extending below the middle two-third of the root. So C3 is very severity of the case, and A1 is very much predictable for the bone generation. So C is almost like it will have a more amount of the vertical bone defect in compared to the A classification, which will have a less amount of vertical bone defect. And horizontal component, as I said, in case of A1, B1, or C1, will have a horizontal bone loss less than 3 mm. In case of A3, B3, and C3, it will have a more amount of the horizontal also, and vertical also bone loss will be there. So in general, in a very lay language, whenever you found there is a percussion involvement is there, you have to go through the basic classification like grade 1 to grade 4, whether it is saucer shape or it is through and through, or whether your curved probe is going, neighbor's probe is going through and through, or any one wall stuck till the lingual side, or it is tucking till the middle third of the root, or it is just inserting inside the percussion area. So when inside it is just entering inside the percussion area, then it is curable with the grafting material. Throw and throw defect is not recommended for the grafting, because this through and throw will have the again the bone morphological conditions, like it will have one wall defect or almost one wall defect, and it is very much difficult to regenerate it. At least single wall should be there, at least in case of through and through also one wall, or till the middle third of the root there should be the bone present, then it will be predictable to have a bone grafting. So एनी केसेस आप ऐसे ही कोई भी केसेस में ग्राफ्टिंग नहीं कर सकते. यू हैव टू गो थ्रू वेदर द vertical and horizontal bone loss is predictable, how much amount of the bone is there. It should be like at least one wall or two walls should be there for the grafting. This is the image symmetrical diagram in which we can see that this there is an extensive bone loss uh, after the loss of the one lower 3 to 3. What they have done is they have used a block graft with the plate implants. They have done the destruction osteogenesis or the block being used, and regeneration is being taken place. It is for the severity of cases where you are going to plan the implant. These are the case-based things. So in this case, we can see that there is a 6 vertical bone loss is there. So what we can plan, we can do the flap whenever you are doing the guided bone regeneration. You have to see measure the bone defect starting from the coronal part, or the starting from the uh, proximal teeth to the extent of the defect. So this is the 6 defect. How to regenerate it? We just have to go through the treatment planning. Now we can see that this proximal teeth also being compromised with the bone loss, and also with the occlusal problems. So we can see that this patient must have some TFO problems. Because of that, and because of oral hygiene compromise, this patient has lost the teeth. So what we can do in this case, we have to ask the patient whether patient is Bruxer or not, why this tip of a female enamel is there. Then after about the surgery, we have to do the uh, incision, taking from the more coronal to the palatal area, exposing the area, then grafting. Then grafting, in case of this grafting, we have to go through, like in this case, we can do is when you are exposing the graft, like this, these two are the both teeth. So in this case, whenever you are exposing the surgical area, you have to take the big uh, bigger incision starting. Floor should be very wide because it will provide the vascularity to the flap, and full thickness graft for thickness flap should be incised. This periosteum should be intact whenever you are incising the flap. Then exposing it After exposing, you can see that the bone should be here. Knife edge bone will be seen. So what to do? When you are seeing the bone, you have to do the uh, decortication of the bone. So after reflection, when we see the bone, what to do with decortication? What is decortication? We have to make the small amounts of uh, small holes inside the bone so that the bone inside cancellous bone will be exposed, and this cancellous bone will provide the porosity to the and adhesiveness to the graft material. Now after doing the decortication inside the bone, we have to adhere the bone grafting material first layer with the autogenous graft. After that, second layer, adding xenograft or alloplastic material. On top of that, after grafting it, we have to stuck the guided tissue regeneration like one membrane. Why this membrane is being used like Colguide in market, Cologuide or placental membrane or any amniotic membrane is being used or cardium membrane is being used. Why this membrane is being used? Because it will provide some amount of protection to the bone grafting material, and it will just prevent the other cells of the underlying periosteum to prevent it to coming into the inside of the bone grafting regeneration site. Why? Because this periodontal ligament cell and bone grafting material will have a different amount of healing process in different amount of self life and different kind of healing. So when bone grafting material will have a longer period of healing time, and this periodontal ligament cell will have less amount of healing time. So in some cases when we don't use the membrane, what happens? This periodontal ligament cell will have cell occlusiveness inside the grafting material and it will resorb fast. So for preventing the resorption of the graft material and not to hinder the healing process of bone graft, we have to use the membrane, stuck it, and then put the graft, close the flap very tightly, because any exposure to the membrane or any exposure to the bone graft will lead to the retardation of the healing process. As we can see here, firstly, in it is schematic diagram. At the defect site, particulate graft is being used, and then the membrane, polytetrafluoroethylene membrane, which is non-resorbable membrane, and after that, the flap is being closed. So why this membrane is very important? As I said, it will give the very stable environment for the grafting material, and it will prevent the cell occlusiveness of the periodontal ligament cell. And again, whenever you are using the membrane, you have to keep it in mind that why this membrane is how shelf life is of this membrane is how much. Like if you are using the PRF membrane, then it will have a shelf life of 7 days only. So it is not recommended for the in cases of GBR. Yeah, you can use it in the second layer, but not in the first layer, because uh, again the periodontal ligament cell from the flap will come and it will have hinder the healing process. So whenever you are going doing the GBR, the membrane, which membrane is being used is very much important. I recommend the Cologuide because Cologuide will have cost effectiveness also, and also this Cologuide will have a 20 to 24 weeks of resorption shelf life. So when you are using the Cologuide, it will stay till the 4 to 6 months, and it is very much important for the bone regeneration. PRF membrane is not being recommended for the longer period of GBR in case of implantology. So whenever you see that anyone using the PRF membrane, please don't use it. Cologuide or BIOS collagen membrane as mostly being recommended for the longer period of time and for very good results. This is the case. In X-ray, we can see that there is a much amount of bone loss in mesial side of teeth. So, what should be your treatment plan? Anyone from the audience can say? Anyone from audience who can give the you know treatment plan of it? So, what I have planned over here is to extract the teeth. 7 number teeth is being should be extracted. Why? Because the bone defect is extending till the apical third of the root. Also, when we can see some amount of the grayish matter over here, so it also suggests that it can have the facial bone loss. Only the palatal bone is there in the apical part of the this 7 number teeth, either 2 7. So what I can do is I will extract the 2 7. I will what will I do? I will also extract 2 8, and I will graft it in the manner of for the case of the implantology, because this defect is not restorable. It is not when even I have just put grafting material, I have to be sure that sixes are not being compromised, because the distal area of six is also involved. So what I will do, I will extract both of them and I will do the guided bone regeneration for it. I will be using the bone the tuberosity, maxillary tuberosity for it, and for the autogenous graft, and for the bulk of the material, I will be using the BIOS or Fixos xenograftic material and GTR membrane from the Cologuide or any material which is staying for 4 to 6 months. So this is my treatment plan for it. So this is again one case. Can somebody suggest me anything like what should be my treatment plan for 2 3 to 4? Which teeth should be removed and which teeth should be preserved? Anyone? So my treatment plan will be, yes, Bhushan, can talk it like
2 4 should be removed, I guess.
yes, 2 4 should be removed. What about 2 3? 2 3 will be needing whenever through 2 3 I guess will be needing the grafting material, because we can see that distal part is involved. What I will do here is extraction of 2 4, extraction of the 1 6, and if during the surgery I see that the 27 is also 17 is also involved, then I will also extract it. What I will do, I will do the flap surgery over here, open flap debridement for the upper uh, arch, and in for lower arch I will just do the close flap debridement, only deep cleaning in common language. And in case of upper arch, I'll be doing uh, bone grafting related to the 2 3, and also if it is needed I will do the intentional RCT for the 2 3. Why? Because the from the distal side you can see that dentin is also being exposed, and this then exposed dentin, when I am doing the debridement, the bacteria from debridement will be entering into the dentinal tubules and it will be giving the pulpitis to the patient. So for that case, I will be doing the 2 3 root canal and guided bone regeneration for it. And in case of 1 6, I'll be doing guided bone regeneration for 6 months. And after that, if the patient is willing for the treatment, further implantology, it will be beneficial for the patient that sinus doesn't come very uh, closer to the reach, and it will be giving the more bulk to me for the implantation of the any kind of osseous implant. So this is other case. What will be the your opinion for it? Anyone? Treatment plan for it? So my treatment plan will be like patient from seeing X-ray also. I can see that patient might have some amount of trauma from occlusion also. Why? Because I can see that patient might have some prosthesis over here in the 1 4, and for a longer period of time patient must be suffering from periodontitis and from the trauma from occlusion, because we can see the flattening of the occlusal surface of 1 4, and flattening of the um, uh, that 4 6, and we can see there is a uh, teeth tiltness, and in the 4 5. So we can say that this area is very much compromised with the bone loss because of the occlusal trauma also, and hygiene maintenance also. So what I will do is I will be removing the 1 5 and sorry 1 4 and 1 6. If I see that 1 5 is also compromised, then I'll be removing 1 4 1 5 1 6, and I'll be doing the guided bone regeneration. Why? Because doing basal is not the very advisory, because the patient I guess age is 45 I guess, and 40 to 50-year old, and basal is recommended when in very severe atrophic cases where you can not imagine for the treatment plan. So in this case we can go for the osseointegration, and we can do the guided bone regeneration over here. Right now I'll be doing guided bone regeneration because it will give me the bulk of the hard and soft tissue to me, and it will not give me the stress of sinus lifting. And in case of 2 6 and 2 7 2 8, I'll be extracting 2 6 and 2 7 2 8, and again I'll be doing the guided bone regeneration so that I will not be in stress of sinus lifting in case of the planning the implantology. And in case of lower arch, I'll be doing the scaling and root planning only. And 3 month to 6 months interval cleaning, deep cleaning of it in common language. And yes, for the upper arch, I'll be saving the 1 3 to um, 2 3, and if it is needed, in case of 2 3 and 2 2 2 3 2 4, I'll be doing the intentional root canal for it because of the uh, exposure of the dentinal tubules. So this is very basic. I have given the very summarized concept about the bone grafting. But whenever you feel anything like any case, in any cases, you need a guidance for it, you can contact me. Any kind of questions if you have, you can ask me. Ishika?
Yes, I'm so just waiting for anyone to just drop in any questions if they have, or unmute and ask if there's anything that they want to ask from today's session or anything in general to Dr. Nirali.
Okay.
I think everything was very clear and you have given an overview in quite a depth, so everyone's understood everything.
I have just given some overview of it, but guided bone regeneration is like very vast subject. Is like
Correct.
you can write a book on it, and it is very case driven subject. And one thing I must summarize is whenever you are planning for grafting or graftless thing, just see the case and just then plan it. If it is possible to graft it, then please graft it. Don't go just literally go for the basal implantology. It is like basal implantology will give you the osteofixation, not osteointegration. So when I have seen many cases that people are just going for basal in very young cases and very young patients, and in very less amount of bone is there. So in young patient you can have very much amount of the vial tissues which is present, and good amount of bone is there, then please must go for osteointegration and osseous grafting is much needed. Please don't go for basal implantology. It is very last option. So grafting is superior most when you ask me for integration. So in any cases where you see the whether the defect is there, just see the case, just see that either whether it is curable or not. If it is curable, then go for grafting. And if it is not curable, then and then only in case of severe atrophic case and in case of geriatric patient, you can go for the basal implantology.
Correct.
And it is very vast because uh, GBR in teeth is very different. GBR in case of guided bone regeneration, in case of implantology, is very much different. I've just overviewed everything, but if I had some time in a very part ways, like today I'm giving the short introduction on graft, then second day I'm giving the short introduction on the teeth and after implant. It will be more beneficial, but we don't have a time. We have a time consideration and everything, so. It will be beneficial to the people if they go through the very thorough teeth, then after implantology guided bone regeneration.
Correct. But you've been very kind to summarize everything in this short session and teach everything in detail. So thank you so much, Dr. Nirali. This was really, really helpful. And thank you to all of you who stayed until the end to actually understand, listen, and also ask your doubts to her. It is really a wonderful session to have you here and talk about it. You've even taken the trouble to actually draw and explain, and that's really a lot. Thank you so much, Dr. Nirali. Thank you.
You're welcome.